The main result of the NATO summit is a set of adopted decisions, public statements, and all the initiatives shows clearly that Ukraine's transit in alliance succession has actually begun. This is the process that gains more and more signs of irreversibility, as it was stated by Ukrainian Minister of Defense Alexei Reznikov. The value of the NATO summit can be highlighted in three parts of achievements that are worth detailing. The first part is the content of the events as such, the achievement of consensus and a deep understanding of common goals, the background of which is the Ukrainian position. The second thing is those formal decisions and its political and legal features. The third part, I would name the results of fieldwork, so-called, during the summit. So my question to you, David, out of all the decisions and initiatives of the NATO summit, which one would you have titled as a most important thing during this summit?
First of all, there are two parallel processes. So the one is Ukraine-Russia war, as is going on now, and the decisions that NATO has to make about himself in the future. What we see is, plainly speaking, coming back of the Cold War with big armies, big military expenditure, and in plain words, all the world now is back to arming himself. We see all over the world countries buying weapons in milliards, billions of dollars. So we also see NATO plans to put 300,000 soldiers in the future on the alert state. So basically we see back to the Cold War with large armies and so on. All the other details, just outcomes of this one big decision, one big resolution.
Right. So is it good? Is it bad? Maybe you have to propose any? What do you suggest? I know you understand that it was like a kind of negative tone that you said. We're going back to big, larger armies and all that Soviet era and blah 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 and so on. But as an expert, what would you suggest?
I don't say it as a good thing or bad thing. It's just a fact. So we have to deal with facts. Many people are starting Fukuyama, and after him thought that era of big wars in Europe, at least, is now over. We can almost disarm ourselves, as we saw in many European countries. Now we see that these predictions were wrong. The era of big wars, it's not gone, it's present. So everyone will have to make decisions according to that. It's just a fact. It's not... we can speak from some moral or historical, but practically it's just a fact. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a fact that everyone has to deal with it.
Okay. Okay, I'll take absolutely as an answer. The very fact of another fact is the appearance of the G7 declaration proves that the issue of a just peace in Ukraine is of global interest, wrote Reznikov. This is another Ukrainian thesis that has gained international support. Russia's attack on Ukraine is not a local problem and does not have a local solution, therefore, in the form of freeze or pause or similar halting approach. There is only one way out of this war: the defeat of the aggressor. The crime has been perpetrated, so the punishment must follow. So if I say that this is a common goal for all countries of G7, would you agree to that, David? Would you agree that all countries want Russia to be punished for this aggression?
The hard part is that defeat and punishment may be seen in many different ways. I'm sure that Ukrainian victory, as Ukrainians see it, and as West countries, especially USA, see it, it's very different things. That's the main reason why NATO doesn't want to participate in the war. It just only helps Ukraine to fight its own war. So defeat and punishment, it's pretty vague words. I don't agree that every Western allies see eye to eye with Ukraine on that subject. Maybe they don't want Russia to win, but the fate of Russia and punishment of Russia, it's very different.
Yeah, all right. Maybe what I meant when I was talking about Russia is actually the Putin's regime, the Kremlin's regime now. This is what I mean, because maybe Russia will change. I personally don't believe that, but maybe. Let's give them a chance. What then? This is like a sub-question. A new Russia. Would new Russia have to pay for the sins of the old Russia, of the Kremlin's regime, of the Putin's atrocities and hostilities here in Ukraine?
But the question is how we get to new Russia. What will happen to old Russia? Military defeat or some military coup, or just death of Putin, disintegration of Russia's state? This is very different ways. So now we don't see any new Russia tomorrow. So we have to think, is a new Russia even possible in the nearest future? And if it is, what is the way that can lead to it? But ideally speaking, everybody would like a new, different Russia, democratic Russia. But the tough question is how we get there.
Exactly. This is one of the toughest questions, I believe, and even for Russians themselves.